Edith Wharton's The Age of Innocence was published in 1920, was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1921. It is set in New York City in the 1870s, and it gives us a wealth of details regarding the lives and customs of the American upper class of the times. In this story, Countess Olenska has arrived in New York after a reputedly scandalous divorce from a Polish count. She is portrayed as a free spirit who flouts society's rules. Ultimately, The Age of Innocence examines the compromises we make between what we expect and what is expected of us. Ellen is shown here on her way to a dinner party at her cousin May's home to celebrate her arrival in New York. She is wearing a faux fur hat and capelet and carries an antique seal muff. She's modeling a dinner dress in the natural form style, a fashion that enjoyed a brief popularity in the late 1870s. As we can see, the bustle has entirely disappeared, but the skirt still has a great deal of fullness in the back. The flat front and full back are created with the use of tapes secured to the side seams and tied behind the knees. I'm very glad that Cindy has chosen to portray this natural form style, as it's one we don't see very often. It only enjoyed popularity for about 5 years. The fabric of the gown is seafoam green faux di peony silk. The skirt is trimmed with black lace at the hem, has a black satin bow on the back. The bodice has beaded trim around the neckline and cuffs, and is closed with silver and green buttons. Thank you, Cindy. Miss Wharton was a member of the upper class she depicted so well. She traveled extensively and was well acquainted with many of the old money families of her time. She was also an accomplished interior and garden designer. Her house, The Mount, a mansion she designed in Lenox, Massachusetts, is reputedly one of the most haunted houses in New England. Anthony Trollope's novel, The Way We Live Now, was inspired by the railroad financial scandals of the early 1870s. One of the more memorable characters for me is Matilda, Lady Carberry. She is a widow of moderate means who is attempting to support her family by writing truly dreadful historical novels with titles like Criminal Queens of England. She also is striving desperately to make advantageous matches for both her son and daughter in hopes of replacing the family fortune squandered by her late husband. One book reviewer called her a manipulator who is willing to use the affection or loyalty of others to gain her own selfish ends. But another, more sympathetic writer views her as a woman doing her best to free herself from an unpleasant situation. I think you're just going to have to read the book and decide for yourself. Lady Carberry is wearing a late-era bustle ensemble. That is the period of the second emergence of bustles in the mid-1880s. Her two-piece dress is made from an elegant textured linen blend and is lined with fabric from a vintage silk sari. The bodice is the colonnade style, that is, fashioned after a much older style of Polish national dress, featuring a draped one-piece tunic. Her collar is hand-crocheted lace, and her hat is a repurposed vintage straw hat from the thrift store. Thank you. The bustle had two periods of popularity. The first following the hoop skirts in the 1870s, where you saw very much fuller skirts with the addition of a smaller bustle. When they reappeared in the 1880s, the skirts were a lot narrower and the bustles became much more elaborate. Anthony Trollope failed at a number of career attempts before becoming a rural postal inspector in Ireland. He did most of his writing during the numerous